American Top 40.
The number one song in the USA for the third consecutive week. Carole King and It's Too Late. You know, the first American Top 40 program was broadcast exactly a year ago on 7 stations in the United States, and this week begins our second year, and we're being heard in 118 cities throughout the U.S. and around the world. And exactly a year ago today, the number one song in the USA was by the Three Dog Night, called Mama Told Me Not to Come. Today, starting our second year of AT40, it's Carole King's It's Too Late. Well, you've just heard the 40 biggest selling hits in America this past week on American Top 40. Well, history time on AT40, prompted by a letter from Bob McGrath in Somerset, Massachusetts. And he writes, Dear Casey, I was wondering if you could tell me something about American Top 40. When did it start? What was the first number one song at the time? And who was the first broadcaster? Well, Bob, AT40 just celebrated its 4th birthday. Our first show was on the 4th of July weekend in 1970. We were on 7 cities that first week, and now I'm happy to say we're on about 300 cities here in America and in many foreign countries. And that's not counting the coverage of more than 350 American Forces outlets all around the world. The show's always been produced here in Hollywood, and I've hosted it from the beginning. The number one song on our first show was by Three Dog Night, and it was their first number one hit, titled Mama Told Me Not to Come. And there's your capsule history of AT40. Thank you, Bob, for the question. Now on with the countdown. Well, now let me answer that triple-sided question from our listener in Canada. He's John Campbell of Sydney, Nova Scotia. And his 3 questions are, when did the charts begin? What was the first song ever listed at number 1? And when did American Top 40 begin? And here's your answer, Jonathan. Billboard's first comprehensive survey of single records came out in July 1940. And in the number one spot on that first chart 36 years ago was a tune called I'll Never Smile Again by Tommy Dorsey and his orchestra with the vocal by Frank Sinatra. Now, American Top 40 first went on the air a little over 6 years ago on the 4th of July, 1970. And our family of stations has grown from 7 who carried our first show to more than 350 who are broadcasting this week's show, plus the worldwide network of American Forces Radio. Well, in the next few seconds, I'd like to answer a couple of dozen letters that we've received during the past year by giving you the history and vital statistics of American Top 40 in half a nutshell. Our very first program was on the 4th of July, 1970, which makes us about 6.5 years old now. We've always produced the show right here in Hollywood, and I've been the announcer right from the beginning. The first program was heard in 7 American cities, and the number one record that week, by the way, was Mama Told Me Not to Come by Three Dog Night. This week's countdown is being broadcast on radio stations in 380 cities, not only in the USA, but also in 15 foreign countries. In addition, we're carried in about 350 American Forces radio outlets all over the world. So it looks like quite a number of pop music fans over a big part of this planet are joining hands every week when we get together like this to listen to and talk about the most popular songs in the USA. And we'll keep right on doing it as long as you keep letting us know you're out there. Thank you for writing.
The hits from coast to coast.